Govinda Ganamritam.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, glories to Srila Prabhupada, and welcome everyone to our Wednesday night reading and discussion of Caitanya Charitamrita with His Grace Yashodanandana Prabhu from California. And we have a global audience that participates in these classes. And we encourage everyone to invite others to attend these classes. We have a invitation flyer that we've created, and you can send a request to the website Hare Krishna Society to our administrator there, and he will be happy to send you the artwork for this flyer, and then you can distribute it to people you meet when you go out in public and they recognize you as a devotee, or you talk to them about Krishna. Because that's what devotees usually do, is they try to induce people to chant Hare Krishna and introduce them. This is called Vartma Padarshika, Guru introducing the philosophy of Srila Prabhupada, who is our Diksha Siksha Guru. And it's interesting to note, I just finished Yashodanandana Prabhu reading the Caitanya Charitamrita. And naturally, at the end of the entire 17 volumes, there's always some special information that's given. And I'm going to read from the concluding words before we start the diaries this evening. I thought that we'll just read one paragraph from it, actually, the first paragraph. And then we'll read forward in the concluding words in the subsequent classes coming up this week, and get an insight what Prabhupada was saying after he finished this monumental task of translating the Caitanya Charitamrita into English. And Prabhupada, I hope I'm not speaking too fast, Prabhupada does mention in the purport that when someone presents the philosophy as extensively as a person like him, although he doesn't mention himself, this is the actual representative of Sri Vyasadeva, and he therefore can sit in the Vyasasan. So one has to have these qualifications in order to accept the role of a Diksha Guru. Diksha Guru is not a very light thing that you can take whimsically up in the hope that you'll accumulate money or become famous, or you'll become worshipped. Because this type of disease is something that affects everyone in all different walks of life. Most people, that's 99% of the people in this world are in illusion. They're in Maya. And we can see that when Prabhupada was here in the West, personally with us, he initiated approximately 4,800 disciples. Okay. Is that a lot of people? Well, if you work it out, say by 10 years, that's 480 people per year. So divide 480 by 12, it's about 40. What's that? 480 people divided by 12 is 40 people per month. So that's not a bad pace. But how many people is that? That's 10 people a week. 10 people a week in 6 billion people. In America, there are 300 million people, so 10 people a week is a few people. Yet they were important. And just think about it too, Yashodanandana Prabhu. So many of these people got initiated. How many stayed? Some of them stayed a few days. Some of them stayed a few months. Some of them stayed a few years. One of my godbrothers, we joined together and worked together. We had our band together, and then we moved into different roles. Soon as Prabhupada departed, he left the movement. So he lasted, 6 years? That was it. And it was goodbye. Jose, see you later. So, and hasn't taken it up. We have this one GBC man that we're talking about online with Govinda Dasi, and he disappeared for 30 years after he left the movement. Rupanuga is his name, actually. Just disappeared into solitude, seclusion. Could become more of a what is called Bhajananandi, just chanting and working on his own, because most people don't cooperate. That's the way it is, especially in the ISKCON group. There was hardly any cooperation amongst the GBC after Prabhupada created it. After he left the planet in 78, 79, these particular people that were GBC were dividing up the different sections of the world to take them over and become independent, as it turned out, sectarian acharyas, independent people. We lived through that. It was a nightmare. I mean, I had to go through, can you imagine, Garuda Prabhu? I had to deal with Keith Ham. And he was at the height of his deviations and deception. And it concluded in the murder of Sulochan. So it was really quite a terrible, terrible situation due to the ambition of a few people. You know, there wasn't many devotees. There are hardly any devotees now. Devotees are very rare. We should understand that. It's not like there's millions of us. There are some people that are in the ISKCON group, but they're insignificant too. In America, they hardly have anybody in the temples. The whole thing has become so deviant. The reputation of the society has been so tarnished by all kinds of deviations that people are reluctant to get involved. Very reluctant. And this is unfortunate, very unfortunate, but it is a reality. So we're very fortunate that we're together. And the name of our association is important. Try to understand. Branding a name into the worldwide community is very, very important. Like, for example, in Atlanta, there's a guy, Bhakti Vikash. I never met him. I think he joined in 76 or whatever. He was some kind of brahmachari running around in Vrindavan when Prabhupada was still with us. But he started a new movement called Krishna Life. Krishna Life. What is that? Is that ISKCON? It's not even the ISKCON name. It's an independent organization, independent religious corporation with independent leadership and a fake guru leading it, namely this Bhakti Vikash. How is he fake? Well, Prabhupada never appointed him as a guru. He got elected by a GBC body that totally manipulated the philosophy in order to compromise their own positions and take a position of leadership where they could be financially independent from each other. And that's what's happened in 2024. And it's going on. Now it's a total fiasco. You can't even print books. Now there are lawsuits all over the place in India because of Gopal Krishna's mismanagement. And now the BBT, BBTI, all these people are suing each other. And now it's very difficult for books to be printed. Why? Because of deviation, misunderstanding. Very, very big offenses against Lord Chaitanya's mission and against Srila Prabhupada's mission and against the mission of his bona fide disciples, because there are some, but they're very few and far between. And at any moment, the thing could change. Who knows? At least we've got it going now. I used to tell people, years ago I was running a music program in the city of Hamilton here, and it was very successful. We had thousands of people coming to see us on Sundays. We called it Soulful Sundays. And I would tell people, well, this is going to happen for a little while, and then it'll go away. And sure enough, it disappeared. The whole thing collapsed, and everybody went on its way. So timing is everything in doing things. And you know, all of us should understand that the timing here that we have, somehow or other, and Yashoda and I are witness to this, it unfolded by Krishna's mercy. It wasn't something we concocted or manufactured, oh, let's go do this and that. We were actually stumbling forward, as Yashoda knows. And eventually, you know, by Krishna's grace, we're here today at this class, and it's a great thing. So the main thing that we're presenting is the understanding that we're all working together cooperatively to protect Prabhupada's legacy. That's the most important thing here. Sure, people chant, sure, people follow principles, but the secret of success in this philosophy is, and Prabhupada said this, you should work cooperatively, but people don't, especially the people from ISKCON. Instead of helping you, they stab you in the back. Rumor mongering, excuse me. There's character assassinations. There's defamation. When you're a dissenter, and Garuda Prabhu, you'll know this, in the corporate world, when there's dissension, the corporation welcomes it. They don't destroy the people that are questioning their operation. They embrace it and try to understand it and then try to solve it as a cooperative group, not kick the people out. The ISKCON group do exactly 100% the wrong thing. Absolutely wrong. Instead of dissenters being rejected, they should be embraced and they should be worked with. And in this way, there can be solutions and things will expand. Look what happened. Now it's dissented. Everything has gone on their own. And as a result, what could have been a great movement is now finished. I say this, you know, my perspective dealing with thousands of devotees over the period of my history in this society up to this point. The boat has left the harbor. If you think you can reclaim it, bring it back to shore, by all means, try to do it. But how do you do it when everything's subdivided into all these corporations, all these individual board of directors, all these independent, personally motivated gurus like Radhanath? Are you going to work with Radhanath? Are you hearing anything about that? Could you work with Gopal now that he's left and the whole BBT, all the thing is in complete disarray? And he's left it like that? He was in charge? Some guy from Pakistan is running it now? We don't even know if he's a devotee? So this thing is really unfortunate. And what I want to do is, we'll move ahead. I'm going to read from the concluding words. I think I sent it over to our production manager. So it's the concluding words of Caitanya Charitamrita. If you could put it up on the screen. I'm just going to read the first paragraph, Prabhus, because then we'll move forward to read the diaries and then carry on with the program. I've got one excerpt from an interview in Newsday newspaper in New York on July 14th, 1976. So concluding words. Today, Sunday, November 10th, 1974. This is the end of Caitanya Charitamrita. Okay? End. So Prabhupada's giving his profound explanation of what's gone on in his work to produce these what became 17 volumes. Today, Sunday, November 10th, 1974, Prabhupada says, corresponding to the 10th of Kartika, Caitanya area, 488th, the 11th day of the dark fortnight, the Rama Kadasi, we have now finished the English translation of Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's Sri Caitanya Charitamrita in accordance with the authorized order. Read this, listen to this carefully. The authorized order of His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj, my beloved eternal spiritual master, guide, and friend. So, Prabhus, put your name in there and change the title to A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is exactly the right words for us to pray and repeat. Srila His Divine, who passed away from this material world on the last day of December 1936, I still consider His Divine Grace to be always present with me by His Vani, His words. There are two ways of association, by Vani and by Vapu. Vani means words and Vapu means physical presence. Memorize this, everyone. Physical presence is sometimes appreciable. Yes, it is, and for some of us it was, but sometimes not, because sometimes you got chastised. But Vani continues to exist eternally. Therefore, we must take advantage of the Vani, not the physical presence. Bhagavad Gita, for example, is the Vani of Lord Krishna, although Krishna was personally present 5,000 years ago and is no longer physically present. From the materialistic point of view, Bhagavad Gita continues. So that's as far as we'll go on that. Thank you very much. We'll go now to the diaries, just quickly. And we'll read one conversation and then we'll get into our reading and discussion with Yashodananda and our panel. Excerpt from an interview with Newsday newspaper in New York on July 14th, 1976. Prabhupada, give him chair. They give. Romeshwar. So Romeshwar is here, interestingly enough. And it's very revealing how he conducts himself as a neophyte in front of our Guru. These gentlemen are a reporter and a photographer from a very large newspaper in Long Island called Newsday. This is Mr. Kevin Lahart. Prabhupada, so they require chair? Rameshwar, he's asking if you'd like a chair interview. This is all right. Rameshwar, this is Mr. Bill Sem. He is a photographer from their newspaper. Prabhupada, thank you. Sit down. You have seen our books? Interviewer, yes, I have. You translated all of these? Pause, break. I wonder if you could tell me how you came to founding the movement here in the United States. Prabhupada, it was ordered by my spiritual master, to do this work. So this is his order. I came in 1965. That is the beginning of this. I came alone with no help, no money. Somehow or other, And Prabhupada laughs. I started. Interviewer. How did you attract people? You landed in New York. Prabhupada, my attraction is this chanting, that's all. Interviewer, did you stand on street corners and chant? Prabhupada, yes, I had no magic, just like others. They say some show some magic. I never showed any magic. Interviewer, no, I understand that. Bali Mardan, Tompkins Park. Prabhupada, by Tompkins Park, I was chanting, and these boys gradually came. First picture was published by the New York Times, and then we started branches in San Francisco, in Montreal, Boston, then Los Angeles, in this way. Interviewer, so you just chanted in Tompkins Park and people came? Prabhupada, yes, I was underneath a tree. I think that picture was published by that voice, very big article published. Interviewer, what did you have to offer them? If you were chanting in the park and I said, what are you doing? Why are you chanting? What's your thing here? Bali Mardan. He said, what did you have to offer? So he's right. Romeshwar, he said, now Romeshwar speaks up. They're trying to help. If someone had come to you while you were chanting and said, why are you doing this? Why are you offering? How would you have replied? Prabhupada, they came, naturally they came and joined me and began to dance. That's all. That is the beginning. And here Romeshwar, but what if they asked you, what is this all about? Prabhupada, no, this is for spiritual realization. If you chant, then gradually you realize yourself, you are a spiritual being. You are not this body. Then spiritual life begins. Actually, human life is meant for spiritual realization. And if one does not spiritually realize his identity, then he remains an animal. That is the difference between animal and man. Man is supposed to be spiritually realized. All glories to Srila Prabhupada in his interview with the Newsday newspaper in New York on July 14th, 1976. We're going to move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava by Srila Prabhupada. So chant along, and then we'll have our reading and discussion of Caitanya Charitamrita, led by His Grace, as I said, Yashodanandana Prabhu in California. Hare Krishna.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीर बनचारी यमुना तीर बनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी भगवान की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। रामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तमुनि की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवदीप धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। गुरु द्वारका धाम की जय। स्वामी तो भक्तबिंद की जय। और ग्लोरी टू द असम्बली, और ग्लोरी टू द असम्बली। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya. Narayanam namaskritya. Naram cheva narottamam. Naram cheva narottamam. Devim saraswatim vyasam. Devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet. Tato jayam mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead, Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Caitanya Charitamrita. As we do every single week, we will be reciting a few selected verses from the Adi Lila, chapter 1, from text 18 to 22, which explains the meaning and the benefit of hearing this great, powerful, transcendental literature. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Caitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Next verse. Etina Thakur Gadiya ke Karye Chena Yatmasat. Etinera Charana Vandan Tire Morenat. These 3 deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnava followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Grantera Rambikari Mangala Charana. Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tinera Smaranam. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Tinera Smaraneoi Vigna Vinashana Anarasayoi Nijavanchita Purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Semangala charanai trivida prakar vastu nirdesha shirvada namaskara. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. Welcome everyone again to this reading and discussion on the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita. This reading is being conducted from the original, non-adulterated, non-edited 1974-75 Sri Caitanya Charitamrita. All synonyms, translations, and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Today, our reading will begin from chapter 1, the text number 242 and 243. Koti kama jini rupa yadyapi amar, asamordva madhurya samya nahiyar, mora rupayapyayita ay tribhuvan, radar darshane mora judaya nayan. Koti kama, 10 million cupids, Jini, conquering, Rupa, beauty, Yadyapi, although, Amara, mine, Asama Urdva, unequaled and unsurpassed, Madhurya, sweetness, Samya, equality, Nahi, there is not, Yara, of whom, Mora, my, Rupe, in beauty, Apyayita, pleased, Haya, becomes, Tribhuvana, all three worlds, Radhara, of Srimati Radharani, Darshane, seeing, Mora, my, Yudaya, satisfies, Nayana, eyes. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Although my beauty defeats the beauty of 10 million cupids, although it is unequaled and unsurpassed, and although it gives pleasure to the three worlds, seeing Radharani gives pleasure to my eyes. Text 244. Morabam shigite akarshaye tribhuvan, Radhar vachane hari amara shravan, Mora, my, Vamshigite, by the vibration of the flute, Akarshaye, I attract, Tribhuvana, the three worlds, Radhara Vachane, the words of Srimati Radharani, Hare conquers, Amara, my, Shravana, hearing power. Translation. The vibration of my transcendental flute attracts the three worlds, but my ears are enchanted by the sweet words of Srimati Radharani. Text 245. Yadyapi amar gandhe jagat sugandha, mora chitta prana hare radha anga gandha. Yadyapi, although, amara, my, Gandhe, by the fragrance, Jagat, the whole universe, Sugandha, sweet smelling, Mora, my, Chitta Prana, mind and heart, Hare, attracts, Radha, of Srimati Radharani, Anga, bodily, Gandha, flavor. Translation. Although my body lends fragrance to the entire creation, the scent of Radharani's limbs captivates my mind and heart. Text 246. Yadyapi amarasi jagata saras radhara dhararasa ama korevasa. Yadyapi, although, amara, of me, rase, by the taste, jagat, the whole world, sarasa, is palatable, radhara, of Srimati Radharani, adhara rasa, the taste of the lips, ama, me, kare, makes, vasha, submissive. Translation. Although the entire creation is full of different tastes because of me, I am charmed by the nectarian taste of the lips of Srimati Radharani. Text 247. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhakti Vedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataha Adadana Strinam Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimadrupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadasu Asmi Sarvata Tatkripa Pikshako Nityam Tatprishta Satkaromi Svam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In the beginning of Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has quoted from the notebook of Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami in the first 14 verses. He has explained the fundamental tattvas or fundamental truths of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And why is this so important? Because we see the entire Caitanya Charitamrita is based on these first 14 verses in the Adi Lila chapter 1. Now, what we're discussing here is the reasons for the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it is nicely explained by Kaviraj Goswami what is the mindset of Lord Krishna himself, why he felt that he wanted to assume the transcendental ecstasy of Srimati Radharani. And he's systematically going through all of the emotions of Lord Krishna himself. Now, this is not meant for an ordinary person. An ordinary person cannot, a conditioned soul, cannot describe the activities and the mindset of Lord Krishna. That is not possible. That can only be done by a liberated soul, by an empowered soul. We see in the Caitanya Charitamrita itself, there is description that in order to describe and spread the name of Krishna, what needs the special mercy of Krishna? The technical words are Krishna Shakti Vina Naetar Pravartana. This is from the Antya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 7, text number 11. Antya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 7, text number 11. It is described, Kali Kalera Dharma, Krishna Nama Samkirtana, Krishna Shakti Vina, Nahitar Pravartana. The fundamental religious system in the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Samkirtan movement. Now, why is this so important? Because there's many references, both in Chaitanya Bhagavata and Chaitanya Charitamrita, of what it takes to spread Krishna consciousness. For example, in Antya Lila, chapter 2, text 14, Antya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 2, text number 14, it is described, Se jibe nija bhakti korena prakashi, tanhara darshane vaishnava hoy sarva deshe. Thus, he empowered living beings, his pure devotees, by manifesting in them so much of his own devotion that people in all other countries became devotees by seeing them. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila 7:11, Kali Kalera Dharma Krishna Nama Samkirtana, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Natar Pravartana. Unless one is empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, one cannot spread the holy names of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra throughout the world. Persons who do so are empowered. Therefore, they are sometimes called Avesha avatars or incarnations, for they are endowed with the power of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Again, there's another very important reference in Antya Lila, chapter 1, text 205, Antya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 1, text 205, Bhakti kripoetu prakashite chaha vrajaras, yare karo se karibe jagat tumaravas. Because of your causeless mercy toward your devotees, you want to describe the transcendental pastimes in Vrindavana. Anyone empowered to do this can bring the entire world under your influence. Purport. This passage parallels the statement Krishna Shakti Vina Nahitar Pravartana, which means that unless one empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, one cannot spread the holy name of the Lord throughout the entire world, from Antya Lila 7:11. Under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a pure devotee can preach the holy name of the Lord so that everyone may take advantage of this facility and thus become Krishna conscious. Now, somebody may ask, why are we reading all of this? Well, the reason is we have to clearly understand the nature of the preaching of the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. Because even though Prabhupada was manifested before us between 1965 and 1977, some individuals do not understand his position. Some individuals try to look into the background of Srila Prabhupada before he came to America, trying to analyze his educational upbringing, trying to analyze the environment from which he came, trying to analyze what he did before taking up the mission of his spiritual master, his divine grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It's important to note that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 7th canto and 1 purport, Prabhupada said in one place, it is not important to understand the past of a pure Vaishnava. Someone on the level of Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada never gave any order for any of his disciples to write a biography about him. Unfortunately, after his departure, some ambitious persons, influenced by the mode of passion and ignorance, tried to write a biography of Prabhupada, and so many mistakes were made. So many grievous mistakes were made in describing the position of a pure devotee and acharya. One cannot analyze and describe the position of a pure devotee without understanding his position. Prabhupada was not just a sadhu who came over from India at the right place at the right time. No. He was an eternally liberated soul who came from the spiritual world to bring about the transcendental message of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And unless one is firmly educated in understanding what is a Nitya Siddha and an eternally liberated soul, what is an empowered Shaktiavisha avatar, what is a liberated soul, unless one clearly understands this from authorized descriptions, one is guaranteed to misunderstand the position of the acharya, the position of the pure devotee. Because if one misunderstands the position of a pure devotee, there are very grievous consequences. And this is described in the Padma Purana, where it is described, Arche Vishnu Shiladihi Gurushu Naramatir, that if one thinks that the shaligram or the deity form of the Supreme Lord is ordinary stone, he is a Naraki, a candidate for hellish life. If one thinks Gurushu Naramati, that the authorized bona fide spiritual master, the empowered acharya, is an ordinary human being, also Yasyave Narakisa, is a candidate for lower platform, lower birth. Why? Because these are Shastric injunctions. This is the injunction of the Padma Purana, a Vedic literature. So one has to educate himself and not subject himself to the propaganda of nonsense persons who do not know the transcendental science as described by Srila Prabhupada himself. We see in the Srimad Bhagavatam in Canto 4, Chapter 20, text number 13, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 20, text number 13, and the purport Prabhupada describes, as a king, Prithu Maharaja was ordered by Lord Vishnu to keep himself always aloof from the activities of the bodily situation and to engage always in the service of the Lord, and thus keep himself in the liberated stage. The word Baddha Soridaha in the previous verse is explained herewith. One can fully remain in intimate connection with the Supreme Lord directly, or receive orders from his bona fide representative, the spiritual master, and execute the orders sincerely when one keeps aloof from the activities of the body. The Lord helps us by giving us directions how to act in devotional service and thus advance on the path back home, back to Godhead. He instructs us outwardly in the form of the spiritual master. Therefore, one should not accept the spiritual master as an ordinary human being. The Lord says, Acharyamam Vijaniyan Navamanina Karichit. One should not treat the spiritual master as an ordinary human being for he is the substitute for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from Srimad Bhagavatam 11, 17, 27. One should treat the spiritual master as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and never be envious of him or consider him to be an ordinary human being. If we follow the instruction of the spiritual master and execute devotional service to the Lord, we will remain always free from the contamination of bodily and material activities, and our life will be successful. Very important instruction. Very important instruction. Again, in another book, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 7, Text 21. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 7, Text 21. In the purport, Prabhupada describes, Lord Brahma recognized the Brahminical qualifications of Brihaspati, who was the spiritual master of the demigods, because of his awareness of the Supreme Brahman. Brihaspati was very much in control of his senses and mind, and therefore he was a most qualified Brahmana. Lord Brahma chastised the demigods for not properly respecting this Brahmana, who was their guru. Lord Brahma wanted to impress upon the demigods that one's guru should not be disrespected under any circumstances. When Brihaspati entered the assembly of the demigods, they and their king Indra took him for granted. Since he came every day, they thought they did not need to show him special respect. As it is said, familiarity breeds contempt. Being very much displeased, Brihaspati immediately left Indra's palace. Thus all the demigods headed by Indra became offenders at the lotus feet of Brihaspati. And Lord Brahma, being aware of this, condemned their neglect. In the song we sing every day, Narottam Das Thakur says, Chakshudan dilo je janme janme Prabhu se. The guru gives spiritual insight to the disciple, and therefore the guru should be considered his master, life after life. Under no circumstances should the guru be disrespected, but the demigods, being puffed up by their material possessions, were disrespectful to their guru. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam 11, 17, 27 advises, Acharya mam vijaniyan navamanina karichit namartya buddhyasuyeta. The Acharya should always be offered respectful obeisances. One should never envy the Acharya, considering him an ordinary human being. Now, some people may ask, well, why do you keep repeating the same message in so many different verses? Why? Because some people do not get it. Some people do not understand the position of Srila Prabhupada. Now, it is not very difficult to understand. It just needs that one should accept the position of the Acharya without speculation, without foolish interpretations. Because if one is contaminated with bogus idea, nonsensical sahaji ideas about the position of the Acharya, one is in big spiritual trouble, regardless of how intelligent, how scholarly one may be. And this has been experienced many times in the past and has been described by Srila Prabhupada so many times. We see throughout the verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita, throughout all of Prabhupada's writings, that he constantly describes the position of the spiritual master. Every day we sing the samsara prayers in the morning, and we sing Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasadaha, Yasya aprasadat nagati kutopi. That if one pleases the spiritual master, then one automatically gets he incurs the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. But if one displeases or disobeys the spiritual master, nagati kutopi, one is lost. One is bewildered. We have seen in 1976 how one disciple wrote to Srila Prabhupada asking Prabhupada for his blessing so he could find another guru. And Prabhupada says, if I'm not qualified, why do you seek my blessings? It's interesting, there was a Srimad Bhagavatam class around that time in the Vrindavan Krishna Balaram temple, and Prabhupada was referring, if one thinks that he has acquired so much knowledge, more knowledge than his guru, and then Prabhupada whispered, of course, that is not possible. But even if one thinks like that, one should understand, try to understand one verse perfectly. Prabhupada said, we should try to understand even just one verse completely, perfectly. That is our success. That is our success. Now, Krishna consciousness doesn't depend on scholarship. It doesn't depend on Sanskrit knowledge, Bengali knowledge, Tamil knowledge, or ability to chant Sanskrit. No, no, no. It depends on sincerity and dedication. In Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Ratamrita, he called this laulyam. Tatra laulyam api mulyam ekalam. Janma koti sukritam api labhyate. That in order to get this bhakti, this devotion, one has to develop an intense desire to achieve this. This is called mulyam, the price to attain it. And one should purchase that desire. And even though one may have performed pious activities for millions of years, janma koti sukritam, that does not guarantee to achieve this. Mere performance of pious activities for millions of years does not guarantee Krishna Bhakti. The only thing that gets it is this laulyam. How do we acquire this intense desire? From the mercy of the bona fide Acharya. Every day we sing this song during Guru Puja. Guru Mukha Padma Bhakya Chittiti Karyaekya. Janme Janme Prabhusye Divya Gyan Ride Prakashito. That we are praying that birth after birth, you give us this pure transcendental knowledge. This is the mentality of a bona fide aspirant, of a bona fide student. And those who want to bypass the process, who want to shortcut the process, that will not work. That's why it says, Yasya aprasadat nagati kutopi. And how do we achieve that intense desire? By service, by selfless service. That is why this group, Prabhupada Disciples Association, Hare Krishna Society, we are dedicated to bring back Prabhupada's original first edition books, the legacy, the transcendental Vani incarnation of Srila Prabhupada. And we're constantly requesting people to help us to bring about these original teachings, which have been on the verge of being lost by whimsical people, by nonsensical, whimsical people under false ego who think they know better than Srila Prabhupada. That is why we have to return to the root, to the entire basis of Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada's original, non-adulterated, non-interpolated, non-adulterated books. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada. And it's interesting to note, Garuda Prabhu, how Prabhupada was educating people. And he used the example, I was listening to a lecture yesterday in this regards, like a physician that's curing the patient of a disease. When a person has a disease, they have to follow a prescribed method given by the doctor to cure himself. If you don't do it, you'll remain ill. So in the same way, the material disease of I am this body, I'm this mind, I'm this intelligence, I'm this false ego, these are the coverings of the living entity, all of us in this material world. And Prabhupada prescribes a program for purification. So this is the medicine. And one has to be prepared not only to take the medicine, he has to be prepared to perform tapasya. He has to sacrifice his time, his money, his intelligence in the service of his guru without hesitation, not make excuses up. Because unless one becomes purified, he cannot further proceed in the understanding of the Srimad Bhagavatam or the Caitanya Charitamrita. It starts at the fundamental beginning of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. You learn the process there. Then there's the graduate study. And then there's the postgraduate study, which is Caitanya Charitamrita. Some people want to jump ahead. Oh, I don't want to read about the coming of the age of Kali. I want to read the rasa dance. And Prabhupada tells us, you don't jump ahead. You start at the beginning and you go step by step. And the different sections that Garuda Prabhu, as you know, are the different parts of the body of Krishna leading up to his lotus face. So it's a gradual process here. And one has to first chant your rounds every day. This is not an option. Some people think, I've been told by some of my godbrothers in the past, oh, by the way, Prabhu, you don't need to chant your rounds anymore. You've been a devotee for 55 years. You've been pardoned from having to spend that time. No, the actual chanting of Prabhupada's use of following of his instructions to chant your rounds is an opportunity for the devotee to be with Krishna, because the name and the form of Krishna are non-different, as Prabhupada, I mentioned earlier in that little section, how Krishna is still present in his Vani. That is how Krishna appears to us, in the transcendental sound vibration of his holy name. Therefore, we chant enthusiastically every day. We do. Of course, it takes time to develop that, desire to get up and do your rounds. First, before anything, people want to call me up. I go, nope, can't talk to you. Got to chant my rounds. Oh, really? Yes. Why? Because I know I'm a fallen soul. I'm not trying to pretend to be humble here. I'm just saying, we're born in this material world as Westerners. I'm born in the steel city of Hamilton. It's not like I was born chanting Hare Krishna. I was born, watching TV, Leave It to Beaver. So, somehow or other we get blessed. Yes. Somehow or other we get blessed. I don't know. I don't even know how I became a devotee. It was just sort of, I was dragged out of the material world. Maybe it was by Lord Chaitanya's mercy and his desire to send me as a servant to Prabhupada's lotus feet, and took up the service. We had no books. We had no books back then, Garuda. None. Somehow or other we took it up. This was the mercy. And when we continue to practice this program of Krishna consciousness, chanting our rounds, I was listening to the lecture of Prabhupada speaking. Now he's speaking about the verse in the Bhagavad Gita, the second chapter, Matra Sparsa Stakontya Sitoshna Sukadukada Agami Pa Ino Nichas Tam Statikshashva Bharata, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance and the like the summer and winter seasons, Oski and Bharat, and one should learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. And Prabhupada goes on further, Prabhu, and he talks about dualities, hankering, lamenting, happiness and distress, success and failure, like that. Because he says all the conditioned souls, like he said in that section of our diary today, most people are animals. They're animals, like these professors at the university. They're dogs. Prabhupada called them PhD, not to be negative towards them, but they're not dogs in the sense that they're bad people. They have dog-like behavior. Oh, let's go for lunch at McDonald's. Let's go have KFC at Chicken Place. Okay, well, it's your behavior that reflects your character. It's not just words, but the fact of the matter is, not only for you, but in my situation, in the business community, in the music industry, there's no question most of these people are animals. And I tell people every day, you're an animal. I yell at all the guys here at the ashram, you're nothing but dogs. Well, why do you say that? Because you are. Look at the way you act. You've got to stop it. You've got to change. But the process of devotional service is a gradual cure for material existence. But you have to apply. And then you can move forward. And then you can read the pastimes of Krishna. You can read the pastimes of Caitanya Charitamrita. And when you're sufficiently purified, you may have some understanding of it. That's possible, but you have to constantly apply yourself. It's not a part-time job. This is a full-time job, and everything else that we do in our life, our laundry, our work, that's really part-time. Because in eternal time, that has no value. What is the value of work in the material world based on time and space? Garuda, let me show you. That, zero. It is a big zero. It's not worth anything. But we think it's important. And let's put it in perspective, in all fairness. We have to work. We have to take care of ourselves. And if we get entangled in the Grihastha ashram, by circumstance, whatever, and we have children, then we have to take care of them. You can't just have children and then run away. Oh, I think I'll go. So you become entangled in the complexities of life, and we cannot give those up. But at the same time, that is not the purpose. The purpose is for us individually to become strong as devotees. I'm watching, Garuda Prabhu, this fellow, Khabib, I can't say his last name. He's the top fighter in the world, considered by most people, pound for pound, the toughest man in the world. And they interview him. He's a Muslim. He's quite an interesting fellow, very serious Muslim. And he gives all credit to Allah on all his success, all his wealth. He doesn't own a car, actually. He bought a car for his family, but he personally wasn't interested. Oh, I'm not interested in cars. I give all my credit in my life to Allah. And he said, this is the business of my students, because he's acting as a guru, sensei, as you know. Sensei is a person that teaches martial arts, karate, jiu-jitsu, etc. He goes, the responsibility of my students is to train in the gym, go to sleep, get up, and train again, and you must sacrifice in order to become successful. Tapasya, that's what we do. Our life is a life of tapa. It is not a life of sense gratification. It's a life of tapasya. And if you practice this tapasya, by the grace of Krishna and Lord Caitanya and Srila Prabhupada, you get insight that you never expected to do in the human form of life. And it's a gold mine of opportunity for each one of us. It is not whimsical. I'm going to read one quick section from the Caitanya Charitamrita Sikshastakam prayers. And this is text 82 from chapter 20 on page 284 of Anchalila, volume 5. I'll just read the verse. Thank you, Vinkat. I've tried to describe them as far as my intelligence allows, as if trying to touch a drop in the midst of a great ocean. Now, this is Krishnadas Kaviraj speaking about his work as an author in the presentation of Caitanya Charitamrita to human society in the future. Vrindavan Das Thakur is Lord Nityananda's favorite devotee, and therefore he is the original Vyasadeva in describing the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that all writers after Vrindavan Das Thakur who are pure devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and who have tried to describe the Lord's activities are to be considered like Vyasadeva. Now, Prabhupada is not saying himself, but all of us, all of his disciples who are bona fide disciples know who that is, Dasa Avatar. Who is it? It's Prabhupada, period. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur is the original Vyasadeva in describing Chaitanya Leela. And all others who follow in his footsteps by describing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are also to be called Vyasadeva. The bona fide spiritual master, is called Vyasa because he is a representative of Vyasa. Worshipping the birthday of such a spiritual master is called Vyasa Puja. And that is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the representative of Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur, who was the favorite devotee of Lord Nityananda. And Prabhupada is the favorite devotee of such supreme spiritual master, Sri Balaramji. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Garuda Prabhu, please, if you could share your comments to the panel.
Well, what a wonderful spread of topics, so rich from Yashodanandanaji's reading and his comments and yours. The Prabhupada came and said that Krishna consciousness is not a religion. It is a process of purifying the heart. So, that's what we're all about. And, so much of what you said there, Prabhuji, is a natural consequence of developing a love for Prabhupada and Prabhupada's process, Prabhupada's gifts. As we develop that affection, then we'll be balanced in the world. We won't be too much absorbed or too little. We'll be responsible, as the Bhakti Sutra says. Not too much, just, do enough. Do enough. Prabhupada says there is an affection in the family. So one should be, all of that should be there. All of that will be so nicely balanced if we develop affection for Prabhupada and his gifts. I mean, I really feel that. I've experienced a little bit of that over the last 53 years. So it's, and then of course, the Vani. I mean, there is no greater shelter. There is no greater shelter. And even my task as a university professor and researcher and author, published author, I've had to read so many different books and different theories of other scholars, or even had to read directly into the Sanskrit texts of the Acharyas at times. But when devotees ask me, maybe I should be reading the acharyas, the previous acharya's words, and I look at them with astonishment. I said, have you mastered Bhagavad Gita as it is? I mean, can you say that? Or maybe not even mastered it. I mean, how many times have you actually read it? And then, of course, there's the Caitanya Charitamrita, on which we're focusing here on Wednesday evenings. Everything is in the Caitanya Charitamrita. That is my greatest shelter. I have read so much because I've had to, but I never release my heart anywhere except in Prabhupada's Caitanya Charitamrita. This is the greatest shelter. And everything comes after that, as far as I'm concerned. Everything. Anyway, I've said enough. I really thank you, Vishwakarmaji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yashoda, could you further comment?
Well, these are very important points that are being raised here, because as devotees, as we trying to mature in our understanding and devotion to Krishna under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada, it's important for us to increase our understanding, to increase our knowledge of his teachings, to increase our realization of what he's saying. Not that every one of us considered ourselves very learned or very accomplished. That is not the point. The point is, as devotees, it's imperative that we increase our understanding to increase our devotion. That is the point. It is not simply a dry system of accumulating knowledge. It is not like that. It is not like that. The system of devotion, the eagerness to render devotional service to Krishna, comes by the mercy of the pure devotee of Krishna. This is a very, very important point. And what Prabhupada is doing throughout these literatures, he's explaining systematically, very methodically, how to come up to the highest stage. Now, we're aware there are certain classes of devotees who want to bypass the natural systematic process that is recommended by great acharyas. But that kind of artificial attempt does not work and will not work. This is why Prabhupada was very, very leery and reluctant to allow his disciples to run away to various scholars and pandits and Babajis and caste Goswamis, although many of these people are devotees of Krishna. But Prabhupada had a very systematic, precise method of presenting Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, that was a guaranteed path that he had received from his guru. Now, other persons may have some other ideas, and these kind of classes we have here are really not meant or structured to discuss all of these different groups and everything. These groups have been analyzed by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Srila Prabhupada has referred to these various groups as Sahajiyas, Sahaji Apasampradayas. But what is important to note for devotees currently, because there is so much confusion about whether Prabhupada is available or not, whether Srila Prabhupada, you depend upon the living physical presence of somebody else to understand Srila Prabhupada. I keep referring to these books that Prabhupada has written and say that these books were not meant to be obsolete on November 14th, 1977. They were meant to live on. And those who are sufficiently intelligent and reasonable and also logical will understand this point. Well, when people speak of tradition, well, my first question is, tradition according to whom? Which tradition are you talking about? With whom? Some caste Brahmins? Some caste Goswamis? Some Sahajiyas? Some Neo-Mat advice? There's plenty of advice going around everywhere, plenty of outside instruction, but Prabhupada did not recommend this. This was not his recommendation for devotees who are serious. Those who are serious about practicing bhakti, those who are serious about understanding Prabhupada's teachings and promoting Srila Prabhupada's teachings, they have to be willing to follow the system and the discipline and the teaching that he has given. And the first teaching he gave is don't change, don't adulterate, don't invent, don't manufacture. And this is what we've seen since 1977. This bogus nonsense idea of changing everything for some whimsical idea. I mean, any scholar will tell you, anybody who is a little learned in the philosophy of Vaishnavism, that Vaishnavism traditionally is passed down by the teachings of this great Acharya without change. Now, it is a fact that different subsequent Acharyas have written commentaries and tikas or notes or brief commentaries on the original writing of their Acharya, but they never changed the writings of the original Acharya. That is not allowed. You cannot manufacture some interpretation on the basis that Prabhupada, oh, so-and-so is a really good devotee. That would be like saying, Prabhupada, to somebody, oh, so-and-so is really a good cook. And the person takes it upon himself to cook any nonsense. And he's going to say, well, Prabhupada said I was a good cook. Well, that's not going to fly. So we have to use our intelligence in a refined, intelligent way and not succumb or be influenced by people who want to change the transcendental process that Prabhupada has given. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
I'm going to read something I just got, Garuda, from Romeshwar just now, about 10 minutes ago. I made some comment, Krishna Katha, about the situation that went down with Gopal Krishna in India and how he affected things running the BBT there. Now, someone would say, well, how? Well, you have to know him like we do. You had to work with him for years and years to understand his character. So I wrote this, and I'll read both sections, Yashodanandana and for our group here online. I wrote, I completely disagree with Romeshwar in his opinion of Gopal. They're making some kind of wild statements about him being this great pure devotee that's being incarcerated in a samadhi tomb in Vrindavan as we speak. Along with him, they have both made some very serious errors in terms of the change books and the bogus elected guru system. I don't go over it, you know. The deception is apparent to the Prabhupada disciples who have been banished from ISKCON when they have exposed these philosophical deviations against Prabhupada's instructions in his Vani incarnation. This is called Garuda Prabhu dissenters. I talked about it. Now, Romeshwar writes back to me just now. Vishwakarma Prabhu, His Holiness Gopal Krishna is not responsible for the over-editing of His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami and Srimad Dravida Prabhu, who Krishna Katha sees do that even in classes in San Diego this week. Who to this day, under the mistaken notion by him and current BBT trustees that continuous editing of Prabhupada's books almost 2 years after Prabhupada's disappearance is somehow pleasing to Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Vishwakarma Prabhu, I, Romeshwar, and very few know the exact detailed history of how Jayadvaita Swami convinced the BBT to publish different over-edited new versions of the Bhagavad Gita as it is and keep Srila Prabhupada's name on the cover as if the new edition was that of His Divine Grace, somehow posthumously approved. If you must blame someone Start with me, Romeshwar, as this was the biggest mistake I ever made as the BBT trustee for the English editions. How do you like that? In real time as we sit here. These truths that we're speaking are being understood by people worldwide, and this Hare Krishna Society, Prabhupada Disciples Association group of 19,000 members on Facebook, over 27,000 people in my network, are taking up this mission together cooperatively. Krishna Gata in San Diego, maybe you could share a few words.
I'm
Getting a
really
lot of
came in-
compliments.
Hare Krishna, I came in kind of late. I don't feel qualified in this case. I missed the verse. I was working, but I can tell you from all my years of law enforcement, collect that evidence on various formats. You don't want to lose that. That is a golden piece of evidence. That is a golden piece of evidence.
Well-
So send it where you may.
Okay,
Say
your
it
signal,
loud.
your
Your
signal's
sound is
going.
messed up.
How you may lose it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay,
She will agree.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so
Jonas
wonderful. I
Priya,
can't add anything.
yeah, Jonas Priya in Hawaii. Maybe you could comment, please. He's a senior Prabhupada disciple for us.
Hare Krishna, aloha to everybody.
Haribol.
Yeah. That's so nice that Rameshwar said that. This changing, Prabhupada call it a changing disease. Says you Westerners have this disease. Change. So we have to stick with the original material that Prabhupada gave us. Why? Because we ourselves became devotees with those books. And Prabhupada preached out of those books, and he made thousands of devotees preaching from those books. So the new edited books are more or less useless. As I gave the example of the milk, that one drop of alcohol in 1,000,000 gallons of milk will pollute the whole 1,000,000 gallons. So when they start interpolating Prabhupada's books, then that's the biggest mistake that they could make. So our duty is to promote Prabhupada's original books as we're doing, and to make people aware that all of this nonsense is not gonna benefit anybody. So we have to simply follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, and that way the success is guaranteed. Why? Because there's no nonsense involved. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Just before we ask Tim Lee or Paranjana to speak, I wanted to mention about our GoFundMe campaign that we conducted, which has been very successful. And we're now in the process of selecting the proper printer to deal with this printing of these books in the pre-65 printing of them, which is public domain. And as soon as the printer is determined, we'll let everybody know that it's when the date of the printing will be completed and when you'll receive your Bhagavatams, your Srimad Bhagavatam. So everyone that's donated to this GoFundMe campaign, and it's still open, so you can still go to the link and give some money for this project that we have, which is part of what we're doing. We're not only preaching about it, we're also printing the books, and we're setting up a distribution network with 17 offices globally that are affiliated with the Prabhupada Disciples Association Hare Krishna Society. We still want to get a discussion with Dasa Avatar and with Sham Sundar in Australia to have these books available there as well, and we can include them in the list on our letterhead and in our website. So if they can get a hold of me tomorrow somehow or in the next week, a few days, it would be greatly appreciated. And we'll move forward with that. So I just wanted you to know that. Maybe I saw an interesting comment, Yashodanandana Prabhu, with this, and Ron Singh sent it to me too, of some kind of a bogus group that's speaking at the ISKCON temple somewhere. Maybe Paranjana could give us a little bit more insight into that at today's reading and discussion as we wind up our program. Paranjana, sorry for Tim Lee. It's just the
Harbo.
two names. They kind of merged together, brother. You're so well known as Tim Lee and Paranjana. So to us, you're all a
Yeah,
wonderful devotee. Go
yeah,
ahead.
the famous and infamous simultaneously.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have a, let's say I got a spy. I got different spies in different places, but I have a spy at the new ISKCON temple they opened in Illinois, and they advertised this all over the ISKCON websites. And this is run by Anutama and Radhanath. And my spy says Radhanath just kind of shows up randomly. He's just driving a car from nobody knows where. Nobody knows where he's staying. He's staying in some random location. He drives up in a car, spends a half an hour there, and gets back in his car and leaves. And Anutama does pretty much the same thing. So he thinks they're just coming there to basically collect funds. That's why they come. But anyway, he took a picture, which is on my blog. Everybody can go see it. And it's a picture of this Swami Avadut Datta Pita Pati Jagat Guru Parama Puja Sri Sri Ganapati Sachidananda Swami. No less.
that's
And
a mouthful.
he's supposed to be an avatar of Dattatreya and all kinds of things. But you can see, look at the picture, and he's got his own Bhagavad Gita, obviously not an ISKCON Bhagavad Gita. And if you go to his website, these people wear the three-line tilak, you know,
Yeah,
you know, horizontally across their face, which kind of looks like Mayavad tilak. But anyway,
Shivite. It's Shivite.
Shaivite.
Shevite, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And he has a Hanuman temple, so it's just all mixed up with who knows what. But this poster, which you can see in the photograph, is a huge poster, was
Yeah,
right in front of the entrance of the ISKCON temple, so everybody coming in could see this poster. And obviously, they're allowing or even promoting or who knows what. This guy is being advertised as a big figure at this ISKCON so-called temple. But he says, the Hindus there already don't really understand. Already, they don't know what is an original book, which Bhagavad Gita is the right one or wrong one, or the Hindus there are just very hodgepodge, mixed up people. And so in the article that I posted about it, I put a quote from Prabhupada and he said, we don't need Hindus. He says, apart from me, is there any other Hindu in this movement? No, just me. I'm the only Hindu. So this is an early comment by Prabhupada. We shouldn't be encouraging this whole Hindu hodgepodge thing, but they've gone the other direction. So the person who sent me this says they went from original books to changed books to their books. If you go to a book table at an ISKCON temple, you would just see like Satsarupa books or Radhanath books or something like that. And now it's this Swamiji, whoever the heck he is, books. So they're just going from bad to worse. The change books at least had some, let's say, message about Vaishnavism, but this guy is not a Vaishnava, and who knows what he's preaching really. It's just all. But he claims that he's a miracle worker and he's cured health and all kinds of things. So somebody asked me for my blog address. I'm gonna type it in just a minute. But
Okay.
yeah, so that's the report from my spies. They've just gone completely Hindu hodgepodge. They have basically lost interest in dealing with us Western crackpots because we ask too many questions, we're too much trouble, and the Hindus just don't give them any trouble, and they can just advertise these. But they did have a Bhagavat Sapta guy, last year who went to many ISKCON temples, and the same thing. He's just some Swamiji from who knows where, who knows what, and he was advertised in front of the temples and inside their programs and on their websites and come for the Bhagavat Sapta. And they actually have some ISKCON gurus who advertise themselves as Bhagavat Sapta gurus that they go around and then
Didn't Prabhupada criticize Bhagavad Sapta? Didn't he
yeah, yeah,
speak against
absolutely.
that? Yeah.
He was against the whole, idea. He says you can't learn the Bhagavatam in 7 days. You're going to just learn a little bit and forget, the rest of the time. And it's an annual thing. So what are you going to learn? But anyway, the bottom line is ISKCON is just going more and more and more in the deep end with the Hindus. That's what I really wanted to say. All right, Paul.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Actually, I have the same person that sent me the poster, and I've been talking to him for a few years, so it's unfortunate. And I just wanted to conclude by saying that, the boat has left the pier. It's floated out, so we can talk about these things. That's okay. But our main focus is to prepare everyone for taking up Krishna consciousness as bona fide disciples of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami and reaping the real fruits of this process that Prabhupada has given us. So this is the focus. And to replace the so-called shelter that people are looking for in that mission with our work here at the Prabhupada Disciples Association, Hare Krishna Society, and we're gradually building it. We're not looking for institutionalization of it, Garuda Prabhu, but more a group of Vaishnavas that can give people a proper, especially for grihastas that are living at home, because most people are grihasta, and following a spiritual path, coming to the classes, uh, you know, reading different articles that we're posting in our website and listening to Prabhupada's lectures and studying these books on your own and really getting a taste for this process, which will enable you to taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Cheto darpanam marjanam bhava maha davagni nirvapanam. This Sankirtan movement is the essence of the spiritual life of the modern day devotee. And so if we all work together cooperatively, it'll be a great success. Yashoda, if it's all right, should we have Kevin from Tennessee speak for a second? Is that all right? Okay, Kevin, go ahead, please. We're trying to keep it in control, but
Sure, Prabhupada Hare Krishna. This is some humble obeisances, devotees, Jai Prabhupada. I'm at work at the moment. I just wanted to step out though, because just for a second I had to say something. I really had to say something. This is really great. The Radhanath Swami just keeps on coming up again and again. And I just had to say something really quick about this because I had the chance to meet Dasrat Sutta Prabhu at
yeah,
Alachua, Florida, 2016. He told me in 2016 when I first met him, first went to Alachua, that there's a Bengali devotee, so-called devotee, who practices Black Tantra and was entering his dreams when he was going to sleep, Dasrat Sutta Prabhu's dreams, uh, just terrorizing him in his sleep, and his deities appeared to him and protected him. I just talked to him recently, years later. He's still getting subtle attacks in his sleep by this Bengali person, but he told me 3 months ago that Radhanath Swami entered into his dream and appeared in front of him and told him, I know who you are, I know what you're doing, I'm watching you. So he was basically warning Dasrat Sutta. Dasrat Sutta is speaking to child abuse victims who are being abused in Florida, Alachua right now. So they really don't like him. ISKCON's trying to remove him from the property soon. He's doing the right thing though, and I'll try to reach out to him and invite him to this group. But yeah, I just wanted to say that if anybody knows any person who's involved in the Illinois program or any Radhanath Swami programs, just warn them or try to keep them away, far away. It's like really strange activity around this. So I just wanted to say that.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you. It's interesting, Garuda. I don't know anything about this thing. We're Canadians here up here, sort of, but we're a bit different than some of these American people. But it's interesting that we got similar information from people staying at the Maduha's farm, the Prabhupada village. There's some people that were mentioning this kind of voodoo stuff that's going on. So I don't know. All I can say is chant Hare Krishna, and that'll protect you from all difficulty. That's basically the answer. Just chant your rounds, take shelter of this philosophy, and you'll be protected by the grace of Lord Nrsingadev. So thank you, everyone. Very interesting discussion, eh, Garuda? Did you enjoy it tonight? The program? Did you enjoy it? You've got a smile on your face. Thank you for coming.
Hare
We're
Krishna.
going to join
Immensely,
together.
immensely.
You can't buy this with money. You have to be blessed to get the opportunity to have the capacity to join this. And we want to thank everyone for being part of this team. We're a team building organization based on a proper understanding of Guru Tattva. And this will lead you farther and farther into the transcendental world of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Krishna by the blessings of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hari Bo. Let's go ahead with the kirtan. And Prabhupada playing his bongo drum back in the 60s, and chant along, everyone. And then we'll have Yashodananda end off the program.
ISKCON Naperville opened the doors on its new temple and cultural center located at 1505 McDowell Road. 9,000 square feet.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees, able to fulfill the desires of everyone. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome everyone to Saturday morning from Bhagavad Gita at 7 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time, corresponding to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Toronto Time, East Coast Time. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnava Vangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathannitam Tang Sajivam Sadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna